The shocking revelation. The global media frenzy began in an instant. At exactly 8 p.m. Earth Standard Time, the world's largest broadcasting network cut into its regular programming. The screen switched to a live satellite feed from the Orion station, a sprawling space station orbiting Earth, renowned for hosting interstellar diplomats, celebrities, and cultural icons from dozens of alien civilizations. But tonight's broadcast was not about politics or diplomacy. It was about Zara. Zara, the luminous alien supermodel from the Verine species, was a figure who commanded attention across galaxies. With her iridescent violet skin, slender yet powerful physique, and eyes that shifted colors like a shimmering aurora, she was more than a celebrity. She was a symbol of alien grace and beauty. Her endorsements and appearances made headlines everywhere, and humans and aliens alike were fascinated by her enigmatic charm. The camera zoomed in on Zara, sitting confidently in an elegant white chair in the center of a high-tech studio aboard Orion station. Behind her, the backdrop was simple, just a soft purple gradient that matched her aura perfectly. But tonight, her eyes held something different, a mix of defiance, vulnerability, and a hint of fear. The studio was silent except for the low hum of machinery and the sound of the global broadcast feed flowing through billions of devices on Earth and beyond. Zara's voice cut through the silence, calm but resolute. "You have all heard the rumors. You have all waited for me to confirm or deny them," she said, her voice melodic but firm. "I am here to tell the truth. I am pregnant, and the father is a human." The words exploded across every corner of the world like a supernova. The headlines scrolling across every news channel, website, and social media feed read, "Alien supermodel shocks world. You got me, pregnant human." A stunned silence blanketed the studio for a moment before the controlled chaos erupted. On Earth, billions sat frozen, eyes glued to screens. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Coffee cups were forgotten and hearts raced. This was not just another celebrity scandal. It was an event that challenged everything known about humans, aliens, and their place in the universe. Jake Miller, a 28-year-old software engineer from Ohio, was nowhere near the spotlight. He was sitting on his worn-out couch in his modest apartment, scrolling through his phone, trying to ignore the mounting notifications. Suddenly, his phone buzzed louder than ever, an incoming call from an unknown number with the prefix +88, a code used by the Verine communications network. He hesitated for a second and then answered. "Jake," a calm but authoritative voice said. "This is Zara." His heart stopped. "What? How? Why are you calling me?" he stammered. "I need to speak with you before the world does." Flashback. 6 months earlier, the meeting had been accidental. Jake was on a business trip to the Orion station to meet with tech developers from different planets. He had been nervous about the crowds and the alien customs, but mostly excited to see the legendary station firsthand. Zara, meanwhile, was preparing for a charity gala hosted by the Verine government. She had been exhausted from non-stop photo shoots, interviews, and diplomatic events. Their paths crossed in the station's bustling marketplace. Jake had dropped his translator device, and as he bent to pick it up, he accidentally bumped into Zara, who was hurrying to a meeting. Their eyes met, his wide with surprise, hers flashing with curiosity. "Sorry," Jake said awkwardly. "I didn't mean to." Zara smiled faintly. "No harm done." That small moment sparked a chain of events neither expected. Back in the present, Zara's declaration was sending shockwaves beyond imagination. Governments scrambled to issue statements. The Earth Alliance Security Council called an emergency session. Alien ambassadors demanded explanations. Social media exploded with memes, debates, and conspiracy theories. Most people struggled to comprehend how such a thing was even possible. Human-alien relations had always been fragile and complicated. Interactions were mostly diplomatic or scientific. Romance, that was a subject whispered about in underground forums, dismissed as fantasy or propaganda. Now it was reality. Jake felt trapped. He was an ordinary man thrown into extraordinary circumstances. Suddenly, the face of a cosmic scandal, he faced public scrutiny, threats, and overwhelming curiosity. Why me? He asked himself. Why her? Zara's announcement was just the beginning. She revealed hints of a secret reason behind the pregnancy, a reason that could alter the fragile peace between humans and alien civilizations. Her eyes, filled with emotion, looked directly into the cameras and into the hearts of billions. This child, she said, voice steady despite the storm around her, is a symbol of hope, but also a warning. The broadcast ended abruptly as security personnel escorted Zara out of the studio. The world was left with questions, suspicions, and an insatiable thirst for answers. Jake looked around his small apartment, feeling both isolated and exposed. His life had just changed forever. Hidden truths. Unfold. The world was still reeling from Zara's shocking announcement. But while the public's attention swirled in chaos, the truth behind the headlines was far more complex and delicate than anyone could imagine. Jake Miller sat alone in his cramped apartment, the pale glow of his computer screen illuminating the worry lines on his face. His mind raced as he replayed the past months in vivid detail, the memories like flickering holograms cast across the room. He had to understand how this had happened, how his life had twisted into something unrecognizable. It all began 6 months ago in the crowded marketplace of Orion Station. Jake, on his first trip to the station, was struggling to adapt to the strange environment, where alien vendors sold exotic foods and technologies, and species of all shapes and sizes mingled freely. He had accidentally bumped into Zara, the famed Virine supermodel, and at first he hadn't even realized who she was. "Sorry," Jake had said, his voice nervous but polite. "I didn't mean to bump into you." Zara smiled, the glow of her violet eyes reflecting the neon lights of the marketplace. "It's quite all right," she said softly. Her voice was unlike anything Jake had ever heard, smooth and melodic, but carrying a weight of centuries of alien culture. That brief encounter sparked a curiosity in both of them. Over the next few weeks, they had met by chance several times, their meetings evolving from awkward greetings into genuine conversations. Jake was fascinated by Zara's stories of her home planet and her life in the public eye, while Zara found herself intrigued by Jake's humanity, his kindness, his humor, and the simplicity of his hopes and dreams. One evening, they sat overlooking the vast expanse of space from a quiet observation deck. Jake asked, "Do you ever get tired of all the attention? The cameras, the expectations?" Zara looked out at the stars. "Sometimes, but there is more to me than what you see on the surface." She hesitated, then added, "There are traditions in my culture that few outsiders understand. One is the bond of life, when two beings share a connection that transcends their worlds." Jake frowned, unsure what she meant. "It is rare," Zara explained, "but not impossible for our species to share life with others. It requires trust and harmony." They looked at each other, understanding dawning between them. As their relationship deepened, so did the challenges. Cross-species bonds were taboo in many alien cultures, including Zara's. There were factions within the Virine government who saw such unions as dangerous threats to their genetic purity and political stability. On Earth, similar voices warned against alien influence and infiltration. Still, Jake and Zara dared to hope. Then, months later, Zara discovered she was pregnant. The news filled her with equal parts joy and dread. The pregnancy was unprecedented. No one knew what it would mean for her, for Jake, or for their respective worlds. When Zara finally revealed the pregnancy publicly, it was both a declaration of love and a challenge to centuries of fear and prejudice. But not everyone was ready to accept the truth. The day after the broadcast, Jake received a strange message on his encrypted phone. "Stay silent. For your safety. The truth you carry is more dangerous than you know." The sender was anonymous, but Jake sensed the weight behind the warning. His peaceful life was over. Government agents began watching him. Alien operatives shadowed his every move. Even friends he once trusted looked at him with suspicion. Jake and Zara met in secret at a hidden location deep within Orion Station. "I never wanted this to become a spectacle," Zara whispered, her hand trembling as she held Jake's. "But hiding the truth is no longer an option." Jake nodded. "I'm scared. For you, for the baby, for what this means." Zara's violet eyes shone with determination. "We have to be strong. This child could unite our worlds, or it could tear them apart." Meanwhile, back on Earth, the media storm raged. News outlets debated the implications endlessly. Is this child the next step in human evolution, or a biological weapon? One headline screamed, "Human-alien hybrid, miracle or threat?" Another asked. Social media was flooded with hate, fear, support, and wild conspiracy theories. Behind the scenes, powerful alien factions maneuvered to control the narrative. Some saw the child as a symbol of hope, a bridge between species. Others viewed it as a threat to their power, a dangerous anomaly to be eliminated. Jake's world had turned upside down. But the stakes were even higher than he realized. This was no ordinary pregnancy. It was the beginning of a new chapter, for humans, for aliens, and for the universe itself. Secrets beneath the surface. The days following Zara's announcement felt like a nightmare Jake could never wake up from. Everywhere he went, eyes followed him. Phones recorded his every movement. Whispers turned to questions, and questions turned to accusations. The man, who had once been a quiet software engineer, was now the center of a cosmic controversy that threatened to consume him. But despite the chaos, there was one thing Jake refused to do: run away. He owed it to Zara, to their unborn child, and to himself, to face whatever came next. That morning, Jake received a message from Zara. "Meet me at the observation deck. We need to talk." He hurried through the busy corridors of Orion Station, dodging crowds of aliens and humans alike. The observation deck was a glass dome perched on the station's highest level, offering a breathtaking view of the swirling galaxies beyond. Zara was already there, her usual confident demeanor replaced by a quiet tension. She looked at Jake, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "We don't have much time," she said. "There's something I need to tell you, something I haven't shared with anyone." Jake's heart pounded. Zara took a deep breath. "Our child is not just a symbol or a miracle. There's a reason the Vereen have been so secretive about cross-species bonding." She looked away for a moment, then back at him. "Our DNA is compatible in a way no one expected. It's ancient, older than the Vereen civilization itself." Jake frowned. "What do you mean?" Zara explained that millennia ago the Vereen had encountered a mysterious species believed to be ancestors of modern humans. They had shared knowledge, culture, and even genetics in a secret pact to preserve both species through a powerful hybrid bloodline. This bloodline was meant to be dormant, Zara said. "But it can awaken under certain conditions, like ours." Jake's mind raced to process the implications. "This means our child is part of something much bigger than us," he said softly. Zara nodded. "Yes, and there are forces, both, on Vereen and Earth, that want to control or destroy that power." As if to underline her words, a sudden alert flashed across the observation deck's control panel. "Security breach detected," a voice announced. "Unidentified craft approaching. Orion Station." The sky beyond the glass dome flickered as a sleek black ship appeared, moving swiftly through space. Zara's face hardened. "They've found us." Before Jake could ask more, armed Vereen security personnel entered the deck. "You must come with us," one said firmly to Zara. Jake stepped forward. "I'm coming too." The officer hesitated, but then nodded. They were led through a maze of corridors to a high-security chamber. Inside, Zara was scanned by medical drones, her vitals monitored closely. Jake paced nervously. Suddenly, the station's command center went into lockdown. "Multiple hostile ships detected," the announcement echoed. "Prepare for possible boarding." Jake's heart sank. Inside the chamber, a holographic figure appeared, Ambassador Threx, a stern Vereen leader known for his hardline stance against human-alien relations. "Zara," he said coldly, "your actions endanger us all. This pregnancy threatens the purity of the Vereen bloodline." Zara met his gaze. "It threatens nothing." "It is the future," Threx sneered. "You will terminate the pregnancy or face exile." Jake's jaw clenched. "You can't do that." The tension was palpable. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the station. Lights flickered. Alarms blared. "Hostiles boarding the station," a voice shouted. Chaos erupted. Security personnel scrambled to defend the corridors. Zara grabbed Jake's hand. "We have to get to the escape pods." They ran through the smoke-filled hallways, dodging debris and armed attackers. As they reached the escape bay, Jake looked back to see the station under siege. The future of their child, and perhaps the fate of two worlds, hung in the balance. Flight through shadows. The escape bay was a frenzy of noise and movement. Alarms blared, red lights pulsed, and the distant rumble of explosions shook the very walls of Orion Station. Jake and Zara moved quickly, weaving through panicked crowds and dodging security forces, trying to maintain order. Around them, the air was thick with fear and confusion, an eerie contrast to the calm they had once known. "Keep moving," Zara urged, her grip tightening on Jake's hand. Their destination was clear, the emergency pods. If they could reach one and launch into space, they might have a chance to survive and protect the unborn child. Behind them, the sounds of battle echoed louder. The hostile boarding party had breached multiple sectors, their intentions unmistakable. The attackers were mercenaries hired by a secret faction within the Vereen government, those who feared the hybrid child's potential to upset the established power. As they rounded a corner, Jake glimpsed one of the attackers, an imposing figure in dark armor, eyes glowing with cold calculation. "Jake Miller," the figure said through a comlink, voice distorted but familiar. "You're a long way from home." Jake's blood ran cold. He recognized the voice. It was Kryn, a rogue Vereen operative who had long opposed any human integration. The chase was on. Jake and Zara sprinted through the corridors, every step a fight for survival. As they approached the pod bay, Zara suddenly stopped. "Wait," she whispered. "There's something you need to know." Jake looked at her, breathless. "The child, our child, has abilities. It can communicate in ways we don't yet understand." "How?" Jake asked. Zara closed her eyes, placing a hand on her stomach. "Through empathy, through energy. The child can sense emotions, calm fears, even influence thoughts." Jake stared, both in awe and disbelief. "This is why they want to capture us. They fear the child's power." Suddenly the corridor exploded in a shower of sparks. Kryn and his squad had caught up. "We have you surrounded," Kryn declared. Weapon raised, Zara stepped forward, shielding Jake. "You won't take us without a fight." But before the conflict could escalate, the station trembled violently. Another explosion, closer this time. The station's structural integrity was failing. "Get to the pods!" a security officer shouted, pushing through the crowd. Jake and Zara didn't need to be told twice. They dashed into the pod bay, where a single escape pod blinked green. They jumped inside, sealing the hatch behind them. As the pod launched, Jake looked back through the viewport. Orion Station was a war zone, engulfed in flames and chaos. The pod sped through the vacuum of space, carrying them far from the station, but not from the danger. "Where will we go now?" Jake asked, voice shaky. Zara looked ahead, determination in her eyes. "To a place where we can protect the child. A secret sanctuary." The journey was tense and silent, broken only by the hum of the pod's systems. Jake's mind raced with questions. Who were the true enemies? What did the future hold for their child? And most importantly, could love really survive in a universe filled with fear and hatred? As the stars streaked past, Zara reached for Jake's hand. "We don't know what awaits us," she said softly, "but we face it together." Jake squeezed her hand, feeling a flicker of hope. The sanctuary and the shadow. Within, the escape pod's engines hummed steadily as it glided through the dark expanse of space, leaving the chaos of Orion Station far behind. The stars outside were cold and distant, but inside, Jake and Zara felt the weight of everything they had left behind, pressing heavily on their shoulders. Zara sat quietly, her hand resting gently on her growing belly. The unborn child had already begun to stir, a subtle pulse of life amidst the vast emptiness. "We're close," Zara finally said, her voice steady but filled with quiet urgency. "The sanctuary is just beyond that nebula." Jake looked up, spotting a brilliant swirl of colors ahead, a cosmic cloud of gas and dust that shimmered like a nebula, hiding whatever secrets it concealed. "Sanctuary?" Jake asked, his voice laced with cautious hope. Zara nodded. "A hidden world, shielded by ancient technology and protected by those who believe in peace. It's where we can raise our child away from the fear and hatred of the galaxy." As the pod approached the nebula, the colors shifted and danced, almost alive with energy. The craft passed through the glowing veil, and the view opened up to a breathtaking sight. Below them lay a small, lush planet, vibrant with green forests, crystal-clear rivers, and mountains that reached toward the sky like ancient sentinels. "This is Illyria," Zara explained. "Few know of its existence, and even fewer have permission to land here." Jake felt a flicker of awe. It was a paradise compared to the sterile corridors of Orion Station and the cold expanse of space. The pod landed gently on a clearing, surrounded by towering trees whose leaves shimmered with iridescent hues. As the hatch opened, fresh, fragrant air filled their lungs, a stark contrast to the recycled atmosphere of the station. Almost immediately, figures emerged from the forest, humanoid beings with striking features, a mix of Verine and human traits. They wore simple robes and carried no weapons. "Welcome to Illyria," a calm voice greeted. Zara stepped forward. Elder Mira, an older woman with silver hair and wise, kind eyes, approached. "We have been expecting you, Zara. And you, Jake." Jake felt a mix of relief and apprehension. "How did you know we were coming?" Mira smiled softly. "We watch the stars and listen to the winds of change. Your child's arrival has been foretold." The elders led them to a beautiful stone temple nestled deep in the forest. Inside, ancient symbols adorned the walls, glowing faintly with an energy that felt alive. "You are safe here," Mira assured them, "but the peace you seek is fragile. Forces from Orion Station will not rest until they find you." Jake's mind raced. "What do we do? How can we protect our child?" Mira placed a gentle hand on Zara's shoulder. "Together, we will teach you to unlock the power within, the bond between human and Verine. It is a power born from unity, not fear." Days passed in a blur of training and discovery. Zara's condition advanced rapidly, and Jake learned to understand the subtle ways their child communicated, through emotions, visions, and bursts of energy that rippled like gentle waves. Zara's strength grew, and so did their bond. But as they adapted to their new life, shadows lingered just beyond the sanctuary's borders. One night, as Jake stood watch beneath the starry sky, a figure approached from the darkness. It was Kryn, the rogue operative from Orion Station. "I'm not here to fight," Kryn said, his voice low and steady. "I've seen what your child can do, but so have others. Darker forces." Jake tensed. "What do you want?" "To help," Kryn replied. "But you must trust me." Despite his doubts, Jake sensed a truth in Kryn's words. The war for their child's future was far from over, and alliances would have to be forged in unexpected ways. Inside the temple, Zara's labor began. The pain was intense, but carried with it a profound sense of hope. With the elders' guidance and Jake's unwavering support, she brought their child into the world, a radiant being glowing with the combined heritage of two species. The sanctuary echoed with a new light, and the child's first cry was a sound that promised a future filled with possibilities. But beyond the safety of Illyria, the galaxy's shadows gathered. The real battle for acceptance, survival, and unity was only just beginning. Legacy of Light. The dawn over Illyria was breathtaking. Soft hues of pink and gold washed over the shimmering trees, casting a gentle glow across the sanctuary. Within the ancient temple, Jake and Zara sat side by side, gazing at their newborn child cradled in Zara's arms. The child's skin shimmered faintly with an ethereal glow, a perfect blend of human warmth and Vereen radiance. "This is just the beginning," Zara whispered, tears of joy in her eyes. Jake nodded, feeling a powerful surge of hope and responsibility. Their child was not just a symbol of their love. It was a beacon for a future neither species had dared to imagine. Outside, the sanctuary stirred with quiet urgency. Elder Mira and the council gathered, their faces solemn. "We have received troubling news," Mira announced. "The factions from Orion Station grow restless. They seek to capture the child and exploit its power." Jake clenched his fists. "We won't let that happen." Mira nodded. "That is why we must prepare. Illyria's protections alone will not be enough." For days, the sanctuary transformed into a fortress of ancient technology and mystical energy. Jake trained with Kryn, learning to harness not just his physical strength, but the strange new energy resonating from within himself, an echo of the bond his child possessed. Zara, still recovering, spent her time nurturing the child and learning the deeper aspects of their unique heritage from the elders. Together, they unlocked abilities that seemed miraculous: telepathic communication, healing energy, and the power to calm even the most violent emotions. Their child became a symbol of unity, a living bridge between two worlds. But the peace was fragile. One night, alarms shattered the sanctuary's calm. Outside the temple walls, a fleet of sleek black ships emerged from the nebula's shadows. Mercenaries and soldiers, led by none other than Commander Roldan, the ruthless warlord from Orion Station. "You cannot hide here," Roldan's voice boomed over a transmitter. "Surrender the child, or we will take it by force." Jake stepped forward, standing tall. "You will never harm my family." The battle that followed was fierce and desperate. The sanctuary's energy shields flared to life, but the invaders struck relentlessly. Jake, Zara, and the elders fought side by side, their combined strength pushing back the attackers at every turn. In the midst of chaos, their child's power surged. A radiant wave of energy exploded from the temple's core, enveloping friend and foe alike. The mercenaries faltered, confusion and awe washing over them as the child's empathy reached deep into their hearts, breaking the chains of hatred and fear. Roldan, shaken but not defeated, retreated with his forces, vowing this was only the beginning. But the sanctuary had held. In the aftermath, the galaxy began to take notice. News of the hybrid child spread across star systems, sparking hope and fear in equal measure. Leaders from various worlds reached out, some seeking alliance, others wary of change. Yet, through it all, Jake and Zara remained steadfast. Their child was a symbol not just of survival, but of transformation, a promise that old divisions could heal, that humanity and alien races could find common ground. Years passed. The child grew quickly, mastering the powers inherited from both parents, becoming a healer, a peacemaker, and a leader. Illyria flourished as a sanctuary for those seeking refuge. From conflict and prejudice, Jake and Zara watched with pride as their family became the heart of a new era, one where unity and understanding prevailed over fear and division. In a final moment, beneath Illyria's glowing trees, Jake turned to Zara. "We changed everything," he said softly. Zara smiled, her eyes reflecting the light of their child playing nearby. "Yes," she replied, "because we dared to love beyond the stars." And so, the legacy of their child became a beacon, a light in the darkness, a testament to the power of love, courage and hope in a universe once divided. The end.